Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 30, yes, of Creating Your Career with Marla J. Alberti. I am so super excited, as I always am, because I have another great guest to kick off the year. Happy New Year. This is January 1st, 2020. Happy New Year. But another great guest. This is Alexandra Goodson. Go ahead and say hey, everybody, Alexandra.
Hey, everybody.
So this is so exciting because kicking off a new year, we're going to see how another boss lady is doing her thing. So you know what I love to do is I love to read the bio and talk a little bit about how I met the person. So I met Alexandra. We both used to belong to an organization here in the city, and I always admired her. I watched her. You know, I'm a people watcher. I watch people and pay attention, and she always held herself to a certain manner. So I said, one of these days, I'm going to get her on the show, and lo and behold, here we are. Yay! All right, so let me go ahead and read the bio real quick. We're going to jump into what she is doing. Okay, Mrs. Alexandra Goodson is a Jacksonville native, go Duval, with nearly 15 years of experience in the beauty industry. As a curator of health and creativity, I love that title, at The Cure Nail, she's going to talk about that. She focuses on advanced treatment, sanitation, education, and creativity while building lasting relationships with clients, consumers, industry peers, and nail professionals. So if you have not already guessed, you can see with the background, she is a nail professional. Okay. So tell us, Alexandra, give us a little bit of history up to now. How did this come about, and we'll go into detail.
Well, as you said, I'm born and raised here in Jacksonville, and I started off basically in the corporate setting. I worked for a big, I won't say the name, but I will say it was a really large institution here in Jacksonville. And for about 3 years, I worked with the company, and I got to a point where I knew I was a creative, but I was kind of talked out of going that route because a lot of people will perceive there's not enough room for you to do it because there are so many people that are doing it. And somebody talked me out of my dream really early. And what happened was as I was working with that large corporation, by that point I was pregnant with my second child, and I was growing with the company, and I was excelling and doing a lot of different things, and I had a really good salary, and there was nothing that was like traumatic about the experience until I got a little further in my pregnancy. I got to a point where I'd grown, and being in the position that I was in caused a lot of stress for me. One day I went to the doctor, and he said, ultimately, you either decide that you're going to carry out this full-term pregnancy and take care of this baby, or he's going to die in utero because you're that stressed. So I had to make a decision. I went on leave, and I had my baby. And when I came back, it was even more chaotic of an experience working in that setting. And so for me, it was a no-brainer. The day I went back, I put in my resignation. And the crazy part was I had still not come to the conclusion that as a creative, because I would get in trouble in school for like doing nails and makeup in the back of the classroom, right? As a creative, and with that being a part of my personality, it still didn't, really click with me that that's the direction I should be going. Right. And so for a couple of months, my husband was like, well, you a monster when you not happy. So like, just decide what you want to do. Take your time. Don't feel like it has to be something that you decide today or tomorrow. Right. And so I took a couple months, and I really did not know what I was going to do. I was riding down the street. It was a local street, University Boulevard. And I saw there was not a sign at this location, but there were, construction workers, and, you saw the cars, you saw everything buzzing, and I was, being nosy. I was nosy. Mm-hmm. I pulled over, and I walked into the facility, and I'm like, hey, what is this the future home of? Yeah. And at that point, it was nothing but God. And I give him all the credit for everything that happens, whether it's in my business, because I use a lot of my faith in conjunction with the business that I do. And when I asked that lady what that location was, and she told me it was a cosmetology school, everything in me, all the hairs on my body stood up. And I was like, oh my God, this has got to be a sign. But I still was like, there was that one time that this person told me, this is probably not the right industry for me, that people don't make money at it and people don't excel at it, especially in Jacksonville. So I had this kind of negative thought process about it at first. And she said, well, if you're interested, we're starting in the fall, we'll be opening. It'll be everything from skincare, nails, massage therapy, barbering. She said, it's a full-on cosmetology school. And I said, okay, well, can I get more information? And she gave me information. She said, also, just so you know, it's $1 to register. I still was trying to rationalize that God was giving me an opportunity. And I called my husband. I was like, listen, this lady just told me I can register for school for $1. And he was like, get a lady $1. And I think I still, even to a certain point, and that's something that I feel like as women, we do, that we will overanalyze or talk ourselves out of things just kind of based on having certain negative experiences or people telling you what you don't amount to or things that you're probably not going to be capable of because maybe they tried it, it didn't work, all these different things. And so I had to kind of change that negative mindset that I had and do a full reset. And I literally paid that $1 and I started school. And this was now almost 15 years ago. So I have been in the industry. June 1st will be 15 years that I have been a licensed and active nail professional. I know a lot of times we think that everything should kind of you should see a path and you should see the sequence and how everything should go. But I think it was just me taking that chance and me not knowing what was going to come, but knowing that where I was at the moment was not God's best for me. By then, I had gotten all that I needed to get from that organization, and it was time to move forward. And although I didn't have all the pieces, I knew where my strengths were in terms of my personality and my creativity, and I felt like it was really time for me to move forward in that.
Wow.
So that's basically it.
I mean, you guys know I'm packed full of questions. So This is amazing. So I love how you just happened to run into this location that was being built. I love this, guys. This I talk about this a lot, guys, about how just keep yourself open, keep your mindset open. You just never know what's going to flow and what's going to happen with things that you want. So continuously to believe in yourself. And I love how, yes, someone said yay or nay, but you kept going forward. So tell us about, okay, you graduated, now you're done with school. Tell us about that first opening, like when you first opened, or did you open a shop, or did you go straight to work with someone in the booth? Or?
Even in that was divine connection. So let me tell you, check, this is how it worked. I graduated school, and my instructor for when I was in cosmetology school, she was a stickler because she was from Massachusetts, and they did everything she did above and beyond the Florida standard. And so she always told me, she said, Alexandra, go the 5-star route. And she kept telling me, don't start small. She said, I know you're going to choose to go work with someone, but whoever you decide to connect with, make sure that they can also be an asset to your future. So you need to make sure that you're aligning yourself with an organization or an individual that's going to help you to build with what you already have. I literally started I went for an interview, and I'll say the name because it was a really good organization I ended up working with later down the road as well. I went and interviewed at Natural Body Spa, and we have a local natural body here at the town center in Jacksonville. And that was the location I interviewed with. And the funny thing is, I went and interviewed for a position of a nail technician, and the hiring manager actually did not have any room on staff for me to join, but still wanted to, because of my resume and because I had been doing different things while I was in school. I did different volunteer work with like St. Jude Children's Hospital and things like that. I volunteered with the state of Florida. We're doing different events to give back to the community. And so I already built kind of a following and a really nice resume. So on paper, it was almost like he said, I had to meet you in person. He said, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm trying to figure out where I can place you because I feel like our organization needs you. And I was like, oh, I mean, so you're just going to kind of waste some time, but whatever. And I literally did the interview, completed the interview. And he says to me, well, I don't have the position. I know I don't have the availability, but I'm going to send you to a resort in St. Augustine because I have a really close colleague who is in management at a very prestigious resort. And I was like, okay. I kid you not. I go in, I had to do a full-on face-to-face interview, but then I also had to do like interview where, you know, you are assessed with all your skills. So I had to do a full manicure, full pedicure, you know, go through the whole process. And I got that job just based on the strength of somebody else being intrigued by what it was I could bring to the table, and they passed it along to someone else. And so I started my career at a 5-star level, not realizing that it was going to be so integral for me moving forward, even in me doing my own thing and having my own business. And it's so crazy because, you know, seeing how everything comes full circle and how, you know, sometimes you have these experiences and you kind of don't think that they're going to be as impactful as they actually are. It ended up being like, it changed the trajectory of my career completely. Because had I not really had that push to go the direction that I've gone, I don't think that I would have stepped out to the degree that I did when I did decide to open my own business and, you know, run a business. And so that was ultimately how everything began.
Okay. So let me unpack this. So because I want people to see that it doesn't take much. You just have to get out there and just do it and believe in
Absolutely.
it. Yes, you got to do applications. So I do want to talk about that. So obviously there's somebody out there watching this right now that says, okay, really, I'm creative. I know I can do great in the nail industry. It seems like it's a closed industry. What practical steps does someone need to take? Now, they have to go to cosmetology schools. Let's get that out.
Absolutely.
Yes, you have to do that.
Absolutely.
You know that. So get that part out the way. That's the easy part, right? So you're done with school. What are some practical steps that someone needs to take to enter into this field and be their own kind of successful?
So for me, I say to every person that I come in contact with who has an interest in the industry, because it's saturated, but your bread aisle is also saturated with a ton of different businesses that sell bread. And it doesn't discourage them from releasing their line of bread. Right. So I tell people it's not a matter of it being saturated to a point where you can't get in, or you don't have a following, or you don't have a consumer that wants to spend with you or any of those things. I think what we have to tap into, though, is that for this particular industry, what is major is having your finger at the pulse of the change that happens on a regular basis, as well as continued advanced education.
Oh, that's good.
Because one of the things that I've noticed in particular is that a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on how pretty it looks, or the minute details that don't really add to the main scheme of everything. And so a lot of times we focus on the things like how my logo looks, what my headshot looks like. Those are really nice. But at the end of the day, what do you bring that is going to differentiate you from, I won't necessarily say the competition, but from someone who might be doing something similar to you? So a lot of it has to do with that continued education and continuing to connect with your community. A lot of times what I found too is being authentic. Keeping that authenticity is huge. If you find that you are changing and it's not for the better, but you're kind of changing to fit a mold, that's where you go wrong. Because one of the things that I tell anyone that I come in contact with, whether it's, nail professionals, students when I'm in the classroom teaching, any of those things, I say to them, the biggest part of this is we're making human connections, and if someone cannot connect with you on a basic level and feel like there's a common thread between the two of you, it's going to be really difficult for them to trust you and put you in a position where they value what it is that you do. And especially with the kind of work there's a lot of, I believe, with what we do, the transference of energy is natural anyway, because touch is so powerful. And so we have to be really authentic, because this is where people will be able to determine whether or not you are who you claim to be. And with us having so many different ways that we can connect with people, and a lot of it being social media, sometimes it's hard to determine the real from the fake. And so you have to develop that level of authenticity. And then also, what makes you different? Standing out for the positives and offering something that someone else cannot provide is crucial. And in my business, I feel like what I bring to the table is the fact that I am client focused. I am completely tuned into what their needs are, and I'm definitely quality over quantity. And I've also decided in my business, this was a big deal for me. Back in, I think it was like 2011, 2012, I decided everybody's focusing on nail art. Everybody's focused on how quickly they can move you in and out, and it feels like a conveyor belt. And I personally detest that. Personally. And so as a consumer, which I'm always a consumer first, I will sit with my thoughts as a consumer and think about different things in my business that if I were not running my business, they would be deal breakers. And so one of the things that I'm really particular about is people knowing what my business stands for. Everything that I've done up until this point has been really strategic in that I found a segment of our community that was really overlooked. And really the big part of that is sanitation. Sanitation is a huge one. A lot of people are not clean. That was a big thing for me. I prefer privacy, because one of the other things that was not fun is working in this huge salon setting and you don't get that one-on-one type of experience. And so that was something that I decided early on. I'm always going to stay small, and I'm always going to give 200% in customer service. They're going to be satisfied. And that, me focusing on that and me wanting to serve the underserved community, which is typically those that have autoimmune disorders, they have skin sensitivities, they might be under the direction of a doctor, under a doctor's care. You know, we have people that they might be dealing with cancer or different types of illnesses. And when we're dealing with people who are in those types of situations, it cannot be business as usual. There's a higher level of sanitation, a higher level of concern, you know, asking the right questions, knowing how to properly care for them and not create damage where you could be helping, different things like that. And so I focused more on that segment of the community versus me being for everyone. I realized my business is not going to appeal to every person, and I'm okay with that. Right. You know, you establish the following, just like, you know, you as an individual, you will attract your own tribe just depending on how you move. It's the same in business. And I think a lot of times with consumers having access to so much, we have all these different resources, you have to be that much more educated on whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're doing hair, whether it's skincare, all of these things are, it's not like if you, let's say you wash cars, you could do damage, but it's not quite the same as if you damage someone's skin, or if you create a situation where you've created some kind of issues with them on their body. Right. And so I am that intentional with what I do. And I think that has been why I've been successful in my business. I know it's not come one, come all, and that's okay. A lot of times we have to narrow down the scope of what it is we're going to focus on. And so that was what I feel like has made it so different for me. Wow. So guys, this is really good. Before we're rounding up here, before we get to our fun question, let's just, I want to summarize, because
This is good, guys. Number one, if you think you're creative, and back me up here, Alexandra. So if you think you're creative and you know and believe in yourself, go out there. Obviously, you got to go to school. But number one of some of the things I heard Alexandra say is authenticity. Know who you are and be able to show that in your clientele. Have an idea of where you want to narrow things down at, because yes, she's right, you cannot serve everyone. Kind of figure out what is your niche. If you're coming out of cosmetology school, figure out where you want to go. And I love how you said that you wanted to hit the underserved areas, communities, which is brilliant, because everyone doesn't think in that mindset. So you got to kind of give yourself time and grace to think about what you want. I love how you started off by saying, know the industry.
Absolutely.
I talk about that a lot. I talk about going to conferences, guys. You guys know
Yes.
conferences, magazines, subscriptions, blog posts. Know your industry. I was very surprised that you said that first, because a lot of times, like you said, we want to go get our logo done. We want to go make sure our branding looks great, but can't provide information to the client, right? So that's why I studied coaching. Coaching is one of the fields you can just become a coach, and you can just call yourself a coach based off of experience. But I wanted to study the industry. I wanted to understand the industry. So I love how you said that, guys. So if you want to go out there and get into this cosmetology area, you guys know your industry and stay on top of the industry. I love how you also talked about that one-on-one care, your one-on-one concern with the actual client. I love how you said that, because sometimes we're thinking about how can we get the next client,
right?
And pay attention to that one client that's right there in front of you that you're dealing with, that you work with. Even like I said, even if it's one, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Pay attention. I love how you said that. So, okay, so before we get to our fun questions, this has been exciting. How can someone reach out to you, like if they want to ask you questions about getting into the career field, or even come to you with some of the things that you do? How can they reach you? And guys, we'll put these links down below in the
yes. Alexandra Goodson is my handle, and you can reach out to me whether it be on Facebook or Instagram. I'm completely open. I get a lot of questions via those different routes. I check my DMs. I definitely check everything. I'm an open book. Okay. So I'll definitely, in whatever area that I can assist and wherever I can be value, I definitely maintain that.
Definitely. Well, guys, we'll have these links down below so you can reach out to Alexandra anytime you want to. So before we end, I have to ask that fun question, that one question that people don't know. So tell the world something about Alexandra Goodson, the nail curator. Tell us about something about her that we may not know, something fun and exciting that you can legally tell us.
Legally, I like that. I am, and I think a lot of people don't believe me, but I am an introvert, diehard introvert.
I believe that.
I think what happens is because I love what I do, and I would like to believe I do it at such a heightened level. I've learned how to adapt to whether it's being in the classroom and I have 15, people in the classroom, or if I'm even talking to someone one-on-one, sometimes it's hard to get through as an introvert, but right. I say that like an introvert with like extrovert tendencies. Yeah. And so I have to, but the thing about that, I know myself. And so when I have, done a trade show and I've been at it for 3 to 5 days, or if I've been teaching, somewhere in the country, I give myself the time to relax and relate and release. And just, if I have to trap myself in my room for 3 days with Netflix, I do, because I have to recharge. And I think a lot of that comes from being an empath and also making those connections with people. It can drain you if you don't, if you're not aware of it. And so I had to, kind of just think about the capacity in which I work. It's not that I don't like what I do. I just have to maintain how I'm doing it and how often, I give that kind of energy. So that would be the one thing. I am not into like small talk. I'm not. I really want to hear what people have to say that's of value, and I really want to connect. And I think that's the one thing that most people don't realize, because otherwise I don't say a lot. And I think it kind of is off-putting for people if they're not aware of my personality. And so that would be the one thing that I would say people don't realize about me.
And, you know, I've said this before, but yeah, I think we're all, because I'm extroverted, but I think we're all a mixture of both, you know, like the extroverted comes out when it needs to, and the introverted comes out when it needs to, because I love being by myself. I mean, believe it or not, I love
the energy. Yeah, it's an energy thing.
My little bubble sometimes, but then at the same time, if I'm in the store, I'll talk to people. So I like talking to people, I know people. So I totally understand that. So yeah, we all have that mixture. Well, guys, this has been amazing. I have learned so much myself. I have learned about interest into this nail industry, because we all have we don't know. This is why I do these videos, so people can see people doing it in a wide range of industries. Doesn't have to necessarily be banking, or industry that we've heard of that we know is going to be successful in what society shows us. No, you can go out there and see that, hey, I can be successful in whatever industry I want, as long as I have that interest in that. And that's why I do these shows, guys. Guys, this particular show, of course, is brought to you by my blog, www.theworkingwoman.co. Make sure you go out there, check out those me time articles that Alexandra's talking about here. We have to have that me time. We have to be able to recharge for ourselves. I talk a lot about that in the blog. Feel free to subscribe. And also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, click the like button and share this video. And we look forward to talking to you guys next month for episode 31, where I'm introducing another wonderful, fabulous person to the world, interviewing someone else great. So guys, have a great week and Happy New Year, and talk to you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.